Welcome in, everyone. A brand new edition of Sports Medicine Weekly on this Sunday morning. Hope your Thanksgiving weekend has been kind to all of you. I'm Steve Cashel, joined by my usual co-host, Dr. Brian Cole. He is the head team physician for the Chicago Bulls, one of the team physicians with the Chicago White Sox and various other sports teams here in the Chicago area. Also, orthopedic surgeon from Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. Our producer is Shane Reardon. Our website is sportsmedicineweekly.com. And a reminder, podcast segments always available to hear on our Sports Medicine Weekly blog, also through Apple, Google, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast audio. How are you, Dr. Cole?
Steve, I'm doing well, and I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving with your family, and I assume a small group this year for you.
Yes, smaller than usual, trying to, just follow the guidelines and the protocols in place and be safer out there. But let me start with this, Dr. Cole. Some college students now home through December for the holidays. Usually they come home for Thanksgiving, maybe go back for a couple weeks, but some are home now for the home stretch and staying till January. I know some listeners want to know if they can still get in to see you and your partners at Midwest Orthopedics at Rush for sports injuries, other injuries, orthopedic injuries. Are you only taking those that are in dire need of surgery?
No. It's, and keep in mind, Steve, that, most things don't require surgery, but people need advice. They need assurances and so forth, and they need a plan, even if it's not surgery. But the short answer is that the hospitals are clearly in a stressed position for inpatient admissions. So we are, open business as usual. Well, usual as adapted with COVID and the precautions. There's a couple of basic principles. There are surgeries, for example, that require an admission, and depending upon the hospital system, the number of beds available for routine admission or for more complicated surgery that requires, say, an intensive care bed, those things may be on hold in some hospitals. Currently, at the Rush system, that's not the case. But the outpatient setting has remained open and unchanged. I think that we've learned since March how to manage patients in the setting of COVID. Quite frankly, while we test people, everyone who undergoes surgery and the staff is tested frequently, it's really about the universal precautions that we take, that everyone is taking, even things that you're doing each and every day, which is the obvious things: physical distancing, hygiene, and wearing a mask. And we've gone to actually wearing a face shield because the prevalence of disease now is much higher, and you're hearing all kinds of statistics. I think it's safe to see a physician. I think that we understand how to prevent transmission of disease. People have to understand that the test is not the whole story. The test is only as good as the minute you took that test, and symptoms are actually more important than the test itself. So if you develop symptoms, fever, loss of taste or smell, achiness, flu-like symptoms, you really need to stay home and you need to quarantine until you have definitively tested positive or negative. And I think those are the important messages. But if you're an individual who needs care, health care, not just orthopedic care, but care in general, I think you can still see a physician. And always keep in mind that most physicians now, including us, we at Midwest Orthopedics, are using telemedicine, which is really adaptable for many situations, especially acute injuries, to sort of figure out what needs to be done and minimize the traffic in the office setting if we can.
Okay, time now for our pro athlete injury of the week. None more polarizing, Dr. Cole, than the injury Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow suffered last Sunday. Torn ACL, MCL in his left knee, potentially PCL and meniscus is what they were saying. Burrow, the top pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, having a terrific rookie season. Dr. Cole, here's my question. Could everything be found on a CAT scan or MRI, or are the extent of the injuries most learned or discovered during surgery?
Well, it's a great question, Steve. And this is just a devastating injury for a young man who has finally found his chance in life to be in the NFL. And he was, as you say, he's a top draft pick. The Cincinnati Bengals, great team. And this is really a tough blow. And I will tell you, when you're just starting out in your career for these young people, it can be devastating. This injury, you could start by watching the video and you kind of get a sense of what happened. But I will tell you that the physical exam and the MRI tell you just about everything. There are some things, for example, that an MRI or a CAT scan can miss. But the bottom line is that we're trained to do observation and take a good history and then do a good physical, and even absent of an MRI, you can kind of figure out in many instances the majority of an injury. And then there are some nuances that get picked up despite all that at the time of surgery that you might otherwise not expect. But the big things you pretty much know before you get to the operating room.
And fans want to know, Dr. Cole, not that you've examined Joe Burrow, but in a typical instance like this, could he return by the start of the next NFL season, which is next September?
Yeah, I think that this, even if he had a PCL injury, which is the other ligament in the center of the knee, he could have a 7 to 9 month recovery time. Young athletes can sometimes get back as quickly as 6 months, but that would be optimistic for a professional athlete. So I would say that you could arguably get someone back, depending upon the injury pattern, in 7 to 9 months. So I guess you got to do the math, and who knows what the timing of next season will be. But, and I think the more important thing is that statistically he has every likelihood of getting back to play.
Good stuff. Let's move on.